we are good to begin. If you want to give us a brief recap of last week and then just take us into it.
So, fleeing from Port River, all of you have traversed the jungle once again, encountering a couple of days of rain, but after that, a very good weather until you have reached the city of Skagit. In the way, you have faced giant bats that have harassed you along the way, as well as finding gigantic unnamed monuments of different species, just giant corpses and heads aiming at the horizon, the sea. But eventually you have found your ways to Skagit, which is a bit of a wild city. Up until now, you have arrived at the... I do not recall if you arrived in the morning or the beginning of the night. I don't remember which. I don't know if anyone has a clarification on that.
I want to say we arrived. I want to say we arrived during the day. I don't think it was morning, but I don't think it was night either. I think it was like afternoon-ish. Because I think it turned to night while we were in the settlement.
Just before reaching the settlement, you also found a small coat to the goddess Myrmedia, which is currently living in an abandoned lizard man, kind of like a watch house or a safe house that is built into one of the giant trees that is in the region. You have been given some minor supplies and encouragement to make your way to Skagit. Upon reaching Skagit, you have begun to use Ingvar as your kind of like translator, as most people here speak Norse and not Reichsspiel. You have found that traversing the city is a little expensive. There are rental services, but you have chosen to try and buy a rowboat. And so you have traversed this part of Skagit on foot through the flooded city, through the flooded roads, until you arrived at the foreign town, which is a section of Skagit that is close to the sea, that is filled with different parts of taverns and gambling dens and different places for Imperials and Tillians and Stallions to kind of meet each other. Through perception, Egon found a small tavern that is a little hidden into the mass of constructions that is Skagit, and has found a little Imperial tavern with what seems to be a tavern keeper from Ostland and a very talkative halfling, which has explained that he is a halfling called Peas in the Bowl, Tumbledown Stoutheart. And the group has inquired him in regards to some information that they need, and he said that he is more than willing to do so. However, he does necessitate a job in return, which is climbing the giant stone, not a stone, boulder, this giant mound that is the Scarp, that is to the east side of Skagit. But first, the group has decided to go in the direction of the docks to find the seller of a rowboat, which Peas in the Bowl also has exclaimed that he knows a guy that might be able to give you a fair price for the rowboat. And that is where we're going to pick up. It's starting to get late. It's starting to get to night here, so you see the beginning of the horizon turning into that shade of pink and orange. You leave the small tavern you were in, and you start making your way to the docks, now accompanied by the halfling Peas in a Bowl, as well as Ingvar Eggson, which is the a fellow broker, a fellow criminal that from Egon's older days, and a burly ex-miner, which is Eaglefut. The halfling travels alongside you, Tehetakai. As Tehetakai, you are covered in like a big cloak, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I have on. I think it's Egon's cloak.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which, also for anyone watching, Egon is running a little late today, which is why he hasn't said anything yet. But he will be here as soon as he can. But there's that.
Yeah. I wanted to, as we're making our way to the dock, I wanted to actually make a little bit of a round to ask for the feelings as you are walking and what is the general demeanor of each one of you as you're walking through the city. So, Tehetakai, the halfling is walking alongside you, and as you are of similar height. You are still walking on planks. You have not reached the part where it is flooded, but you are walking alongside him. And what is the general demeanor of Tehetakai? What's going through his mind, and how is he behaving in the middle of the city right now?
I mean, he's definitely nervous, and like agitated. So, although it is hidden beneath his the cloak right now, like his tail is like kind of constantly thumping against the ground, and his crest is, if you could see it, is very flared up. However, his mind is very preoccupied trying to emulate the halfling. Since the halfling is a similar size to him, Tehetakai is really doing his best to try and copy the halfling's movement and really make it, realizing that this is a creature that he can properly copy, because it's to a similar height as himself. So he's quite focused on that more than really anything else, and trying not to let his worries about where he is and the threats that he faces here be too overly present in his head.
Got it. As you're walking forward, the halfling. Did you show yourself to the halfling, by the way?
No, Tehetakai did not.
Okay.
He's just kind of, from the as far as the halfling's concerned, Tehetakai is kind of a quirky little, either a quirky small human or a quirky halfling that doesn't say very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as he's walking alongside you, he is making some comments, trying to get some conversation out of you. And he is a man that does not accept failure, and so he continuously keeps talking. And at sometimes he asks, like, "Oh, is your friend a mute, or does he have any mutations I should know?" And no matter the answer, he keeps wanting to talk to you, and filling the air with conversation starters and just general halfling madness, as he starts talking about like meat pies, and then afterwards he starts talking about his cousins who are marrying, and so like there's this conjunction of things that he's just like saying to the air.
Yeah, Tehetakai really only responds by either like nodding or his head or shaking his head, and just he tries to kind of keep Aisling between him and the halfling, because he doesn't want the halfling too close.
Mm-hmm. He respects this physical barrier, but not the social barrier of you not wanting to talk to him. So it is very unfortunate for you.
Oh, while that's happening, every time he asks about Tehetakai, like trying to talk to him, I'll just say that he has a really thick accent and he's kind of embarrassed talking to people like us. But in his own native language, he sounds perfectly fine and normal.
He kind of furrows his brow at that, and he nods his head and kind of like archives that information, and then goes back to just speaking gibberish. But as you're interacting with them, Ashling, the same question to you, Ashley. What is your feeling? What is going through Ashley's mind right now, and how is her demeanor as you're walking through the city of Skagit?
Ashling keeps like as they're walking through, she just keeps grabbing like random things from like bushes and trees and seeing if her lizard will eat it. And if it doesn't, she just tosses it to the ground. And she also looks to Tehetekai if it's edible, like, huh? Huh? And just waiting for him to either nod yes or no before just throwing it to the ground. And she is in constant conversation, like constant airheaded conversation with the halfling. They are talking about everything.
All right.
She is, for the most part, pretty happy right now, though she does seem worried.
Okay.
Mostly because she keeps picking things, and Tehetekai's like, no, no, no.
Yeah, he starts. The halfling also starts. As you pick up something, you kind of like offer to your lizard and kind of like talk to Tehetekai. Tehetekai says no, and the halfling pulls conversation for like, oh, this reminds me of a blueberry pie that my aunt or cousin used to make, and there's this like, and then you start talking about the pie, and then it kind of like derails the conversation into something else. At one point, as the halfling is walking with you, he turns to you, Ashley, and he asks, "Why, if you don't mind me asking, have you ever been to this city before? Any of you?"
No, I've never left my hometown. This is all new to me.
All right. Well, from where I come from, I actually hadn't really left the Mootland for a long time as well. You get very used to the pies there as you were walking about. Uh, I think where is your hometown?
Oh god, I actually forget where her hometown is.
Somewhere near Salzman, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Let's just go with that until corrected.
Gotcha. And he nods, says, "Well, I don't really know where that is, but I can safely say that it is very, very distant from my hometown, and you will see that Skagit is as well."
Okay then.
Yeah. None of you look particularly tough, except for the big guy, and he points to Egon. So I am a little worried, but you seem to be good folk.
Stop. Don't you argue with me, just stop.
And as he keeps walking, he does continue to talk about pies again. Berard, as you are walking, say a little bit behind this whole interaction between Tehetakai, the halfling, and Ashling. The same question to you: what is going through Berard's mind, and what is his demeanor as he's starting to walk through Skagit?
Berard's not here right now. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Ben?
The Discord thing is lighting up, but there's no sound coming through.
Yeah, double check your mic, Ben.
Yeah, give it a check. as you're working on that, you guys start walking. I want to ask of both of you, Tahetakai and Ashling. Especially Ashling, you said that you are kind of a little bit on edge.
Time for the sword.
Yep. Oh, sorry. TikTok opened.
What is your main concern? What is the main concern in Ashling's head right now as you're walking? What are you looking for on the shadows?
So right now, the thing that's bugging her is that Tahetakai getting found out and them getting into a lot of trouble because of it. So she's trying to think of ways.
Worry.
She's trying to think of ways of actually walking with him so that he does appear to be like a person she's either caring for or a child.
Gotcha.
So right now, every
Jawa.
time, essentially, yeah. But every time she sees somebody, she steps in line of sight of them to you. Coco, can you please play with a different toy?
Gotcha.
All right, this working now?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, good. That would explain why no one commented on anything I said.
It's like I heard you when I first came into the call.
Yeah, and then afterwards, nothing. I was. So anyway, as I asked before, what are Berard's thoughts as you're walking through Skagit, and what is his general demeanor walking through the city?
Berard is glancing at all of those posts, keeping every building above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Above the ground, and he's worried about this entire settlement collapsing at some point while he's walking on some rickety boardwalk.
Mm-hmm.
And he's lost in thoughts of how climbing techniques his father taught him, because he didn't get a good look at that giant scarp in the distance blocking out the sun, but it seemed pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And he remembers his dad mentioning climbing being a difficult thing.
If you wouldn't mind, can you give me just a perception check, an average perception check? As you're walking around and there's this general concern for the infrastructure here. What you notice is that these piles of dry land, they are not just built on top of these like structures of wood, but they seem to be built upon debris. And as you're getting a little closer to the docks, where the area clears up and you're no longer in this cluster of houses, you can see other small clusters from a distance. And you start noticing that a lot of this structure is built and compacted on top of previous places. You see pieces of just like rotten wood and even some cut stone from probably houses of stone that were built here at the beginning, and then they eventually gave up and just built things out of wood. And even bones, you start seeing that there's this mass of debris that is compacted into the mud that is beneath each of these structures. And it does not calm you down, for absolute sure. I would say it only brings this concern of this place is about to,
My God,
to be this, to like fall upon itself any time now.
Oh, please. How often do buildings fall over here?
Oh, well, it really depends. Even it depends on how playful the Jakars are.
Lord Jakars?
And he points to, as I said, you're kind of a clearing, and you see the sea to your right, with the stone sea wall on the distance. A couple of boats docked, and in this murkier part of the sea that is where to the south here. And in front of you, you see the continuation of the foreign town, but there are some, which there is a path to follow. There's almost like a bridge that was built that kind of like arcs above. Again, all made of wood, so this is also does not fill you with confidence. And he points specifically to a group of people. You count about 10 Norscan freemen, like warriors, of various sizes and ages, which are basically on one of the edges of the foreign town. They have helmets on. Some of them have helmets, like kind of like the word I'm looking for is not rotten. It's rusted helmets. And some leather caps, some like improvised swords and axes and spears. And as he points to that, he says, "Well, here, actually, in a very similar way to Mutland, the security here is self-made. The individuals here gather in groups, which I believe are called Jakars, and they make the security here. And it's all there's no real militia organized by the king or whoever. So these are, and those little groups are called Jakars. Each place that can be competed for is usually going to have a Jakar next to it. From my knowledge, the Jakar that is responsible for the foreign town is a more respectable individual, but the other ones are as much of a cutthroat as one can be.
So that's like the gang thugs that make people pay money so they don't break up their store.
Exactly. But imagine that every single store here needs to pay at least one of these groups, if not multiple. So whenever they get feisty or they want to fight each other, they burn some buildings or like crash them or make them uninhabitable in any other way. So there's a lot of work for carpenters here. That's on.
You got lots of carpenters then.
Oh, a lot of them. Most of them slaves, though.
Oh, that's too bad. So, lots of woodworkers found out to make stuff, like, and he will look at the building, well, put things together, less than made.
He gives a laugh as you look at it and nods and says, "Yeah, most things here are made of wood. Honestly, there are some metal workers that live a little bit more to the north of here, but most people here make their lives. They don't have a choice. They're slaves, but most of them work with wood, either for the ships that come back damaged sometimes, or for a lot of the constructions that need to be built, or the structures that fail, or the bridges that collapse."
Well, seems like a god awful place. Is it worse than the Moot?
Oh, yes. Esmeralda, yes. Can you smell the scent of pie?
Oh, I can't, but my dad said he went past through the Moot one time with an army, and they didn't have any food when they got out.
And he kind of scratches his head and says, "Well, we are both bountiful and hungry. What can I say?" we live simple lives. We don't have any need to expand our economy more than necessary, and the Emperor can fend for himself very well. Reichland produces a lot. But not a miserable place. No, not at all.
Are you sure about that?
I come from there. It's a miraculous place, honestly. Heaven on earth.
Fair enough. Everyone keeps warning me about these creatures. But I have yet to run into something that we can't just run away from.
Are you speaking of Mutland or of Skagit?
Oh, sorry, I meant Skagit.
Oh, no, Skagit is one of the worst places that I have ever seen or stepped on. It is truly dreadful to be here, and I really want to go home.
Well, I don't think it's so bad. Besides... Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. It is fine. Because she was going to say Tehetekai is from here, but then stopped herself.
Tehetekai is now like glancing over at all the buildings as Berard has introduced like a new anxiety of his, like, oh man. Now I have to worry about like misunderstanding their conversation to think that like now these structures could give at any minute because they're built out of flimsy wood instead of proper stone.
I think at multiple times during the travel, one of you fully breaks a board with their feet, and kind of like cracks and like seeds for a second before you recover your step.
Please stop playing with this one toy. You have
And Pease says that, well, Mutland is a great place. Not a very good place to visit, though. Everything does kind of look the same, but it is one of those things like you need to taste the local food at least once before you leave.
Was that because you only get one chance to taste it before it's all gone?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, that does. See, you're already in the spirit of the Mutland. And he kind of like gives a more of a somber look as he continues walking. Eventually, you find yourselves in the docks. Here at the docks, the terrain here actually raises a little. So for the place where the docks were built, there is a bit of sand that is located there. And you see that as you step down from the wooden structure and start walking on sand, you start seeing a little bit more of the diverse people that are walking around. And you start seeing people, different groups of people, different groups of warriors, standing and like standing guard. And you start seeing a lot of people, of beggars, of sickly people, kind of like just trying to find more people for different services, all screaming in different languages. As you arrive, it is beginning to be dawn, so a lot of things are like more hurried up, and you start seeing these like masses of beggars and beachers. And as you're walking, Ashley, I'm actually going to ask for either a perception or a dodge roll from you. And I'm gonna need one for Berard as well. So either perception or dodge.
Let me see what my perception is. A 37. What is my dodge? A 55. Well, golly gee willikers, I wonder which one I'm going for. What's
The
the
lower
difficulty?
one.
Average.
All right, check it. Yeah, I make it.
Both of you,
That's
kind
sick
of like
art.
Berard, you take a step back before it happens, and Aisling, you almost like feel something to your side, and you see a guy that kind of like emerges from the mud. He's covered in like mud that is full of like the remains of sea life. So there's like fish spines and broken shells, and
Ugh.
he tries grabbing. I think for you, Ashley, he tries grabbing your quarterstaff. And for Berard, he tries grabbing this. One guy that is very similar tries grabbing your axe, which is on your belt. And both of them, as they try snatching, they start speaking very quickly. Their eyes are bloodshot, and they start almost like put their knees on the ground and start begging for something, but they're speaking in a language you don't understand.
I feel like we should help these people, but I don't know what they need help with.
Ingvar, what are they saying?
Ingvar, he kind of like furrows his brow and looks to them, and they're speaking very quickly and both at the same time. And Reasonable actually says like, "Oh, you should probably avoid those." And Ingvar say, "They are begging for. They're begging for money, actually."
Well, they've made a bad mistake.
They're asking if you want them to carry your stuff for you, and if you pay them for it.
I don't need my stuff carried, thank you.
Berard draws out the pistol and just aims it at them, and makes a shooing
don't
gesture.
Accelerate. Don't not accelerate. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's a word Berard doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna. There's a word here. Oh my god! Why can't I use the English language? Escalate. Thank you. Holy shit! My brain was not working.
English is hard.
It is. Don't escalate things, please. Put the weapon down.
Well, I'm not gonna shoot him.
Well, then why did you raise the weapon? This is a poor man.
He tried to grab my stuff.
Lots of people try to grab lots of things. Just... I'm going to look towards the man. I gotta check something really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta check my trappings. I am going to toss down 2 pennies.
2 each or 1 each?
2, 1 each.
You see that one of them, as Berard, you're aiming the pistol at him. He kind of like goes a couple steps back, and again he is knee deep in mud, and he starts dancing. You see he starts waving his hands from one side to the other and raising one feet just so it leaves the mud, and then like plunging back downward, raising the other knee.
Yes, now let's go.
And Ingvar says to you, Berard, he is asking if you want a target for target practice.
Fuck no.
And as you
bullets are expensive.
And as you throw both of the coins, they dive into the mud, and you see as kind of there's this like distinct point sound. There are multiple individuals around that look up. This guy you were talking to, he dives into the mud and grabs the penny and quickly another guy comes, clutches his head, and dives it into the mud. And you see a general fight, about a dozen people fighting for these 2 pennies.
Wait, don't fight. I feel like I made it worse.
If that's what you did, Brod's gonna try to grab Ashling's hand and move her along.
Yeah,
before-
Ingvar also kind of like places a hand near her shoulder and goes like, I think we should really leave.
Yeah, Tehetakai is like scrabbling forwards, smacking anyone with his quarterstaff that gets too close.
That's actually, are you actually doing that?
Yeah, he'd smack somebody if they got too close to us.
Make a quarterstaff roll. The melee polearm. So.
Is it challenging?
It is challenging, as you're trying to hide your identity.
Oh, God. Am I going to have to use my fortune point this early?
Yeah, you are.
I just don't want to fumble. You rolled a 6. Ooh.
It's better than a critical failure.
Yeah, I'll reroll just because I don't want to see what happens if I fumble. Oh, that sucks. I don't want to use my fortune point this early.
Do you want me to...
Just imagine.
Well, it's not a fumble, at least.
So what happens as you're walking and you start kind of like whacking people is that a lot of the individuals here, the beggars and these like very poor individuals, they start thinking you're offering them something, so they start trying to grab the edge of the quarterstaff. And you see multiple start like grabbing, and they start pushing each other and trying to grab the quarterstaff from you. I'll say at a marginal failure, they're not quick enough to grab it from you. But you see that this attempt doesn't seem to work, as these people don't seem to be afraid from getting...
Run away. I don't like this.
And you keep walking, and you see Igolf kind of... he has his hand on his weapon, which is actually... I don't remember if I described, but he has a double-handed pickaxe that is like slouch over his shoulder. And you see as he gets there, Ingvar gives him a sign and he grabs the pickaxe. But that doesn't make a difference. People still harass you as you walk.
Please, how do you get rid of these people? How come they aren't trying to grab your stuff?
Well, honestly, because you are in front of me. And you see that as you say that, he kind of like turns to you, and a guy lunges in the middle of the street to try and catch his purse, and he just pulls it to the side.
How are they still alive? I'm pretty sure if I tried to touch anything any of those Norskins had when we came in and said like, oh, I only wanted to carry your purse for you, I'd get an axe in my head.
I don't think these people are very smart, but I think they're smart enough to not try grabbing anything from the local. And you watch. There are a couple of Norscan warriors kind of like spread to the beach. Most of them have axes, and they're kind of like just looking. Some of them do track you as you're walking, but then kind of like track something else. And they do seem to be unharassed. And as you're walking, Pease is kind of guiding you to a place where there's a little hut on the inside of the district. And you see, as you're walking to this other part of what Pease describes as another foreign town, There are a couple of these Norskans, these members of the Jakar, that have shields in front of them, and they are pummeling these beggars. One of them tries getting in, and they immediately, like, fully grab the shield and duck them in the head. You see teeth flying, and some of them stop as they kind of like they hit him once, and the beggar kind of like falls back to the ground, and they stop. But you do see one of them actively pummeling one of them in the ground. As you walk, he guides you to what seems to be a little workshop, and it kind of like an open workshop that has almost looks like a barn. You know, when you have a very circular roof that seems to have a little standing on top for people to sleep on, and you see a lot of different places. You see a system of pulleys and ropes that seem to have a semi-completed rowboat that is currently being worked on. And you see a man a bit near his 50s. He has a lot of gray in his hair, and he has a kind of like a nightstick on his belt. He's shirtless, and behind him working, you see a bunch of humanoids, humans mostly, with these like metal collars around their necks. Each of them is tied to a different, almost like a workbench. So one is tied to one is tied to like a place that has a couple of saws, and he's sawing wood. Another one is entangled to a place that has a hammer and a bunch of like rusty nails, as he's trying to hammer them into the rope. And he's in the bowl, points towards him, and says, "He is usually the guy that sells rowboats here. Pretty good business."
Was that because they get sunk by other people not liking those rowing the boat?
He's kind of nods slowly, and he says, "It is very rare for one to have something for very long in Skagit, if they're not prepared to do that." And he points to the one of the Jakar soldiers that is still pummeling a now lifeless corpse.
We should have probably helped with that person.
No, I think they got him.
Yeah, Tatakai is just gonna sort of like just shake his head and point to the boat seller.
This place is brutal.
Well, remember what happened when you threw out those items? Gerard will look shifty at the thought that mentioning money might make people go mad. How much is, well, not at a temple, how much do you think professional healing is valued at? On what would happen if they thought someone was giving it out for free?
I get what you mean.
Gerard will itch his bug bites.
You see Ingvar, who's kind of like in front. He kind of like scratches himself a little and says, "Do you want me to negotiate the boat for you?"
That might be good. I think Manfred saw a crab back there, and he's still got that look in his eyes again.
Yeah, he's walking alongside you. He's a little misty-eyed. he has his mouth open a little. There's a little dripping of saliva on the corner. He kind of like gestures, positive, and you see, by the way, there's no intuition roll necessary. Ingvar and Egolf seem to be very, very, very disturbed. And Egolf, which is already a very silent guy, since you arrived at the beach, he has not said a word. Ingvar kind of like warms his own hands and goes to speak. And he starts speaking with the guy. Right. I am going to do a haggle test for Ingvar and the merchant, just to see if he can lower the price. But
Damn, where the hell is Victor?
weirdly enough,
Do y'all have
Ingvar
much
is going to
traffic?
haggle against himself.
He's just. It's during the summer. His job is literally super busy during the summer.
So which
Oh,
one?
so our Ingvar one?
Which haggle test was our guy?
Oh, the first one, of course.
The first one.
Nice.
He comes back from kind of like negotiating, and he said he got down to a price, which is a gold crown and 14 shilling.
Well, okay then. Everyone got super
Berard.
quiet, so I got scared.
Well, yeah.
Berard pauses because Manfred was the one organizing this purchase. Not for renting it for a couple days.
That is for renting for...
Whew, that's expensive.
It's difficult to it's difficult to translate, but it would be the amount of time of like 2 weeks. I can try lowering the price by saying we're not gonna use it for as long, but
Hello, Victor! You look sweaty.
Yes.
It's 17 degrees out.
I know, it's great.
Hooray!
Hey.
The negotiator has arrived.
Oh, Victor, you're in the midst of a negotiation for a boat.
Well, I'll get on that.
Yeah, he's a coming.
Give him a moment.
I think
Berard will
yourself.
lean towards Tehetekai. You think we're going to be here for 2 weeks?
The guy shakes his head.
That's
very
16
vigorously.
times the sun going round.
He's going to shake his head even more vigorously. No.
Ingvar, I don't
No.
think we're staying that long.
No.
All right, we're just waiting on Victor, right?
yeah.
Okay. Victor, no
the-
pressure, but we're all waiting on you.
Just to fill the time, as Ingvar is negotiating, P's you're kind of like huddled in a corner, all of you, and he's in a bowl, kind of looks towards you, and he, especially the both of you, Berard and Ashley, and he said, "You entered to the good part of town. This is where most people get inside the city." And he points to the beach, where you see the beggars fighting for food.
Why are there so many?
There's a lot of crews that come to Skagit. And a lot of them don't make it. And they survive. And being outside of Skagit is more dangerous to most people than being inside Skagit.
Brad will glance in the direction of the guard still pummeling a dead corpse. Are you sure? I've been outside. There's lots of food and stuff. And
You
bugs
see
and rain. But
the-
it seems a lot better than neck deep in mud.
Then you have been very lucky. I have heard the tales of those that come back from the jungle. They are not pretty. I myself don't know what I would choose. To be a beggar in Skagit or survive out there by myself.
Well, I mean, if they came here, don't they have, like, jobs they could do? Sailors? There's boats around.
And he points, he has, like, both of his hands are pointing, and he points to the people at the beach, and he points to the thralls that are the slaves that are bound to their workshops.
Oh, that seems like not the kind of work they'd want.
This is not a city where you can choose.
Really? What do you do, Peas? Other than tell people to walk around monoliths and go for treasure.
I think the word in Reichsspiel that would truly satisfy what I do would be entrepreneur. I represent my family in going after towns and trying to multiply the gold of my family. And Skagit has been my latest stop. Unfortunately, one of my employers has insisted that we meet here. No, not employers, but contacts anyway.
Seems like a right terrible place to meet up if you have to sail across the ocean to do so. But if you're an entrepreneur, is that like you just try to make money? That's what that means?
Yes.
I bet if you could find out what all those beggars, and he will lower his voice and lean down slightly because Berard is probably only a foot taller than the halfling. Perhaps there's something you can work out with, and he's going to point to Manfred, who seems the most knowledgeable about money. Because I know there's a place that's looking for labor that isn't, and he will point at the chained people. And perhaps they'll be paying much better. And as the, what's the word for it, referrer? The merchant who gets them the job. Don't you get a cut of what they earn?
You see, he kind of looks at what you said and ponders for a while. And then he looks towards you and says, "Well, I think that would be a fantastical way to make money. But Port Weaver and Swamptown are not much better than this."
I mean, Swamptown was terrible. Port Reaver, I think there was a riot when we left. I assume that doesn't happen often.
Tatakai, the longer we're here, the more Tatakai is becoming like he's having this dawning realization of what exactly he's attempting to pull off to fulfill his role, and is like, oh man, oh man, this is gonna be bad.
You see he kind of like he shakes his head and says, Port Reaver is a city built and inhabited and funded by pirates. I am not very confident that there is the place that should be the capital of new investments such as it. And
So you're
that,
saying
as
if
you
they
said, is
were supported by, say, some recognizable, respectable group, you'd think it'd be a good place for an investment? That's some kind of like religious thing.
and he looks towards you, and there's a brief moment of recognition in him as you say that, of like, oh, I'm not speaking to equals. And because for Halfling, despite all his talks of pions and stuff, he is very puffy. And he looks towards you and says, that would be ideal. The only city that I have been able to gather some amount of respect and found a place for my investments, which is a religious act in itself, has been Skagit, because Skagit doesn't recognize much, and if you have enough people and big enough people with you, they don't really ask for taxes either.
Berard is completely out of his depth as things have moved on to like no taxes, and he still doesn't know what an investment is.
The halfling does.
But he's
the
just
same
going to look at
process.
Manfred with pleading eyes, like, "I've gotten it to this point. Please, this is beyond me."
Manfred suddenly shouts, "Crabs!"
Also, the crabs aren't here. You're all fine. Peas. I gesture at Manfred.
And Ingvar goes towards Manfred and says, I talked to the owner of the establishment. The rowboat for 2 weeks, which is the usual time that people hire things here. The price of it is going to be a gold crown and 14 shilling.
A very low voice. Can anyone cover me for 2 shillings?
I hand you 2 shillings.
All right, perfect. I now have exactly that.
I can hand you 15. Tentakai reaches into his little pouch, pulls out 15 brass, and just is like, "Here, this is what you asked for." Surely. Here is all my money.
I mean, I take it, but all right, I'll take that. All right, so with that, I will have. So I pay the good boat, boat maker. Sorry, boat right, and yeah. Now I am almost completely out of money.
Wait, you got my 2 shillings.
I know. And they went to the boat, and then I took Tahatikai's money, and I'm keeping it.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The guy, he points towards the boat, and you see he's speaking with Ingvar. They're speaking in Norse, and he points to the boat and kind of like gestures about it. And you see he starts ordering the individuals. And when I say ordering, by the way, he has would be kind of like a nightstick. It's a short club, and he starts wailing on the thralls that are working on the boat. And he screams something in Norse, which none of you understand. But Ingvar seems to kind of shiver a little, and they start gathering stuff and doing it quicker. And in a couple of minutes, say 15 minutes, the boat is kind of like finalized. And he kind kind of like order some other trolls that are on the back, pick up the kind of like release it from the pulleys and the rope that they were in, and they start carrying the newly constructed rowboat to the outside.
Do you really have to hit them so hard? You could probably get better motivation from them with compensation rather than punishment. Oh, you're going to continue hitting them.
I don't
He-
think I
Right.
understand what you're
He
saying.
does not. He doesn't seem to pay attention to you. He's just wailing on one of the trolls because he just like dropped a board on the ground.
It's just a board. Please don't hit. Oh, oh, Shalia.
And Ingvar, not Ingvar, sorry, Igolf, just bigger. He grabs the rowboat and he starts carrying it up a little bit above his head. Well, as you're going to the side, and as you start getting more to the flooded place where he can drop it, and he grabs the oars.
Yeah, Hetakai like raises up his arms as if to help, and then kind of realizes stature issues and lowers his arms back to his sides, just being like, "Yeah, this is what the Croxagors are for." I don't have one.
That sounds like a Tatakai problem.
Who looks more buff from all of you? Among all of you?
Hold on. What's my
Berard
strength?
has a 30.
Egon has a 32. So not much difference.
You see that Igolf, as he like puts the rowboat on the water, and he starts climbing and helping people climb inside. As he helps you climb inside, you Egon, he picks up one of the oars and kind of like shoves it into your chest, and says, "You roar too. We leave."
Sure thing, big guy.
And he helps Tehetakai. As he's the first on the boat, he starts kind of like helping and stabilizing the boat for everyone to get in. And you start rowing. For my curiosity above everything else, Egon, make a row check for me. It's gonna be average.
Oh.
Not the best performance in the world. I don't know how much Egon has experience rowing.
Not much. He grew up in Middenheim, a city that has no river next to it.
Yeah, landlocked.
Yeah.
You kind of catch the idea. Like you look at Egolf doing it, and you saw people doing it on the boat.
Yeah, how hard can it be? Just put the thing in the river and then pull.
And doesn't take long until you're almost making a full circle, until Egolf stops you from rowing, rows by himself, and then says for you to keep rowing again. It was like the both of you are not timing it very well together.
Well, at least we got the boat.
We've got the boat.
As you start rowing the boat, start getting more to the inside of the city. You start going through the. I'm gonna move all of the tokens just to showcase more or less where you are, as you're getting. You start seeing some of the houses that are flooded, and you see a lot of them have people that are on top of the house, as it is completely flooded. Some of the houses have already like a piece of stone where someone has built a campfire on top, and you see a bunch of younger folk kind of like shirtless and talking among each other. Many of them are bruised and cut, and some of the wounds on them have already kind of like infected a little. So some of them have some cuts that are like full of pus, and they keep kind of like poking each other and giggling and talking about something.
The other doctors here.
Yes.
Well, I know you are. I'm talking about in Skagit. There's lots of hurt people about.
You see that Pease shakes his head in a no, and he points to like forward, and he says, either you're strong enough to survive the wounds, or you weren't really going to make it in Skagit anyway.
Oh my god. Hetekai wants to say so many things, but doesn't want to blow his cover. So he's just like practically vibrating where he is.
In the center of the... Oh, your friend is a little pincher. That's nice. He's a poodle. Yeah, you see on the center of the city, kind of like dead center in the city, there is a massive spike of rock that is actually a ton of collected stones that are kind of like pieced together. There's a metal loop on the stone that has a bunch of chains dangling from it, and you see there are two people hanging from these chains with manacles on their arms, and they're not like fully on the ground, they're dangling from their manacles. One of them seems to be like a wounded, more of a soldier who's a little burlier, and he seemed to be either sleeping or dead. It's hard to say from this distance, but he is unmoving and has his eyes shut. And the other one is a guy that is kind of like, he's flexing while chained, screaming at the top of his lungs, something in Norse which you don't really understand, and he seems to be like raising himself and then down and doing it again, almost like if he's doing like a bar exercise in the gym, but he using his own like hands bound to the manacles. He has a bunch of symbols you don't recognize cut into his chest, and it's impossible to see what the drawing is supposed to be because there's a lot of blood. He is like there's a bit of foam coming from his mouth as he's yelling, and you see a couple of people that have similar markings on their body that are a little bit far away into one of the raised platforms and looking at him.
I'm gonna take that as being the Skagit hanging.
Pease nods to you, saying yes.
Can I roll lore theology on this person?
Yeah, of course.
What's the challenge rating?
I'm gonna say average to you.
7 here is not right. No, he
If you-
seems perfectly normal. Never mind, I actually succeed.
Yeah, you got a pass.
You recognize the symbols, although they're a little different than what you're used to see. They're usually drawn on the bodies of tortured prisoners.
Ah.
And it is a drawing that you recognize that is a circle that has four arrows in each direction, and between each arrow there's a bigger arrow that is pointed in the other direction.
Man, this
It is
place
an
is just
8.
swell.
Yeah,
You recognize the
definitely
symbol.
no chaos corruption at all.
Yeah. I don't know if she would recognize the symbol. Just because of like I don't know where she would have seen, but it is the 8-pointed star. The 8-pointed star.
Oh boy. Hot dog.
Hot
And
diggity daffodil.
and Pease, as he points towards that, he says, "That fella, which is, let's say, sleeping, he probably got punished, so he got on that rock. That other fella, I think he got himself there."
Right.
Ozani swam over and manacled himself to the rock?
Yeah. A rite of passage. I don't know
So
what his
This
name is.
place is bloody mad.
Who's he screaming at?
And Ingvar looks towards you and he says, "I can understand what he's saying. Do you really want me to translate it?"
I'll take
No,
that.
this is fine.
And he nods his head and just keeps looking for it. And again, like Ingvar and Igor, they are very trying to focus on anything else. But it takes a while of rowing until you can stop hearing the screams. Although sometimes you feel you still hear it after going away. And you don't know if you went away in a way that like you stopped hearing because it's too far away, or if he stopped screaming for a... As you're rowing, Pease is kind of guiding you towards your destination. There's also a second pile of rocks that is a little wider, that has a bunch of parchments and what seem to be almost like letters made of leather that are nailed to this pile of rocks.
This is lovely.
We need to find the colors and get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
The guy nods emphatically.
You keep going, and as you keep going, you see that the part of the flooded, the kind of like this flooded part, stops being blue and turns into like a muddy brown. And as you're walking, you see some people with like hunched with huge like not even backpacks but like sacks of stuff on them, going from one side to the other, and some of them are making their way through to the giant rock, which you can see more clearly now.
That the rain is gone.
The rain is gone.
I can see all obstacles in my way.
You see in front of you as Pease points towards you as he says, "That's the rock that I mentioned." And you see there's no other really word to describe. It is a giant rock. It is about half a mile. So that would be... It would be almost a kilometer inside. So 800 meters.
God damn.
800 meters tall. It is a single solid piece of rock, although pieces of it have been removed either by like erosion or by people actually grabbing the rock from the scarp. There are a lot of markings that seem to be some kind of paint that are coming from different parts of the scarp downwards. And on the base of the scarp, you see a little cut inside that seems to be a dark cave. That is where these people with like sacks over their shoulders are going and coming from.
So is it a mine as well as just a big old rock?
You don't really know. Like, you see a bunch of people with these like sacks over their shoulders that you can see inside the sacks. But these people don't seem like miners to you.
Do they seem like
But
they're
you're-
bringing stuff out with like full sacks, or are they taking things in and leaving with empty sacks?
They are entering and leaving with the sacks with things on them. It's hard to say if the sacks are full or empty. Or empty would be easy to see. Like, they still have things on the sacks
Okay.
when they come in and when they come.
Hmm.
And Pease just kind of raises his shoulders and just preemptively says, I have no idea. I haven't asked anyone from here what that is.
So Tehetakai is actually going to tap P's shoulder and point at the top of the rock and look back at him, and then kind of like quirk his head a little bit so that like the hood moves in a quizzical manner.
You do that to Pease in the Bowl?
Yes, as in that's where you're wanting to go.
He nods and says, yes, that is what I need you to take.
Tehetakai is going to look back at it. How difficult of a climb does this look?
I'll say, give me an average climb check, which is going to be like a scholarly look to see like how able you would be able to climb this.
A theoretic climb.
Yeah, it's a theoretical climb check.
I got a full success at +2.
This is to Sotek, not to Tehetakai. You know those people that climb rocks on hand?
Free
Oh,
climbers,
you mean
yeah.
crazy people?
Yeah.
Crazy people?
There is enough in the rock that you are able to climb. There are little purchases on the rock that like if you can see a trajectory that you could. There are some parts that seem to be more difficult than others that you have to fully jump from one place from one grip place to the other. You know, in like Assassin's Creed or like God of War, where you have a little distance from one wall to the other, and you have to fully jump. There are a couple of places where you need to do that, and it seems to be tough.
And then,
especially because you start noticing that the places where you see paint is not paint; it is fully blood. Of people that were trying to climb, hit their head on the wall and scrape it until they hit the floor.
Tehetakai is going to look back at the halfling, and is just, he's going to turn and look. He's going to go over to Aisling, and he's going to kind of like whisper to her because he's not comfortable talking to the halfling in the case the halfling figures out what he is. And he's just gonna say, let's see, how would he word this? He would say, "Peace, sure about this climb, dangerous."
It is dangerous, but I believe we have to, don't we?
The information, yeah.
Tehetakai will just kind of look and be like, okay. He's gonna start making his way over to where he can climb, and he's gonna gesture for the halfling to follow him.
The halfling agrees, and you are still inside the boat. I don't know if you want to leave the boat and walk.
Oh yeah, sorry, I do wish to leave the boat.
Okay. You jump into a little platform. This area is a little bit more. There are some raised areas because this flooded area really like narrows down to a little canal that enters the cave you saw on the base of the scarp. So there's a piece of dry land that both of you hop into. And Egolf starts making preparations for the boat to like stay there.
All right, Tehetikai's gonna look for the best place. He's gonna be trying to suss out like the best path to climb the scarp that's going to require the minimal amount of like leaps of faith. Because he's more worried about the halfling's physicality than anything else. He doesn't look like the leaping and grabbing sort.
You see as you guys are kind of like going and you're looking at the scarp, you see a couple of ways up towards the scarp. But you see that there's no real easy way. Most of them have either very steep and very long tracks through the stone, or more of them have like more jumps. It's kind of like each of them has the same level of difficulty, but some of them have different challenges. But you can see one of them that is a little bit easier, that is just like climbing. Most of it is just climbing upwards, like hitting the wall and climbing up. For about 500 meters.
Great. Well, Tehetika is going to kind of maneuver over to starting his climb, and is going to wait for the halfling to join him, and here we go.
So you got a way to rest up that climb. I don't see any good spot to rest. Berard will say with his 5 ranks in climb as he looks at the giant slope.
Tehetika is going to walk over to Berard so he can talk to him quietly and say, Tehetika small. Find rest if need.
Yeah, but can peas in the bowl find a rest to sleep with ya? Or sleep rest? Without falling.
Tehetika is going to think for a moment and then ask Berard, Berard have rope?
Oh, Manfred's got some rope.
Egon hands Twintail his rope.
Tehetika is going to tie a knot around his midriff and then offer the rope to the halfling.
The halfling kind of like scrubs like one hand into the other and starts making a knot on his belt.
Berard examines this knot. Does it look like the sailor's knots?
What was the skill we used for tying
Sail.
knots last time? It was sail, right?
I think it was in Outdoor Survival is what you had me use to mimic the sailor's knots.
Gotcha. You can use Outdoor Survival if you want to recheck the... It usually would be for sailing, it would be sail. But for this, just checking the knot, I think Outdoor Survival. So, especially because you have to tie a lot of knots in traps and such, so...
That looks good.
Looks great. Honestly, he seems to be very good at tying knots.
That's pretty good. How did you get that bit to go through that bit?
It says, well, my dad has a technique to tie a chicken really well so it doesn't escape the fire. Because we toast them like raised above the fireplace. So that's just that nut. It was really good. I learned from him. Honestly, I was really into nuts. Never much of a sailor.
Berard's gonna hold all of his questions about you tied the chicken up in the fire and just nod, knowing what would happen if he broached that subject.
Hezekiah is going to start climbing. He wants to get out of this place.
All right.
And whenever he gets to a point where he can kind of like stop for a moment, he will always kind of stop and turn and check on the halfling before going any higher.
Mm-hmm. As you are climbing, what I'm gonna do...
If I die doing this, remember me fondly.
So what we're gonna do is you and the halfling are going to roll climb. Between your successes and his successes added up, it needs to be at least a plus. It needs to be at least a 0. The first check is going to be easy. You are at the base of the rock. Is much easier to climb here. So the first roll is going to be easy to, and then it's going to get harder the more you climb up.
You got this. I believe in you.
I'm glad someone does.
You start
Just
climbing.
remember to use your fortune point. Oh, wait.
I already did.
Well, there's always corrupt. You see he kind of looks down and sometimes and gives a bit of a kind of complains of like, oh, me shivers. Starting to get really tall. Ugh. And he does his best to climb. To you, this is more into your area. Enough of your scaly fingers are good at grasping this. However, as you're going
Hooray,
up,
claws.
because, are you going in front of him or are you going?
Yeah, Hezekiah is like leading him on
Leading.
where to put his hands and his feet.
Gotcha. You guys start kind of like climbing and getting a little higher, and the climbing at this point is you see some markings of scraping of someone who like lost their grip, and you can see pieces of like their nails and skin that got grazed in the rock as they fell.
Gross.
And you are, as you're climbing upwards, and by the way, if anyone, don't forget the safety tools for grossness, because Skagit, as you have noticed, it's a terrible place. So whenever I'm going a little too far, just let me know.
No, you're good. Just gross.
Yeah. You continue climbing, and you start seeing the kind of like markings of failure as you start to go up. For the rest of you, as you're down there, what's the general plan as you are at the base of the scarp?
Okay.
I am waiting for them to get up, secure the rope, and then throw it down.
Gotcha. So you're kind of doing base support on their climb.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare to catch me and provide medical support.
The only problem with that is the amount of rope.
Yeah, I think we only have
800 meters.
Yeah, we only have 20 yards of rope.
Hang on a second. I might have more.
You would need to have.
Yeah, I can give them. I can give them 10 more yards of rope.
Great. we could reach down a fraction of. I mean, we just have to get the halfling to the top, right? We don't need the party to get up.
It's your choice, really.
Because I'm
either climbing on group or individually.
Tehetikai's goal is just to get the halfling to where the halfling wants to go, so that we fulfill our end of the bargain, and then bring him immediately back down.
As you are on the base of the scarp, you notice what seems to be a little let me just Google Translate. You see a little raft that seems to be somewhat of an improvised raft of a bunch of trunks just tied together on a square. You see a bunch of those old, younger folk you saw back there with dozens of scarrings and markings on their body, some of them oozing pus on their as they're kind of like going through the water. And one of them seems to be beating his chest and screaming something in Norse, which you don't know what it is. But he's going more or less to where you are. And it's starting to get night. For the people at the base, what are you doing?
I am gonna try to find us some shelter.
Do you have a tent or something?
No, not yet.
But
I probably should have grabbed a tent. That's a good idea.
We do have a trusty crowbar, but
Igor and Ingvar who are with you kind of like seem to be worried, and they look towards all of you that are there. That guy's up there, but he looks and says, "So do we look rough, or do we not look at all, and do we hide?"
I think we should hide.
agreed.
I mean, it's a big rock. We can stand at a different spot underneath it. How many men are on this boat?
About 10. No, about 8.
It might be good just to shift you on around to a different side and maybe check to make sure they aren't gonna like throw rocks at the Hetakai.
As you're doing that, I'm gonna need a stealth check from all of you. The Hetakai's.
included or
yeah.
excluded?
Exclude.
Okay, cool.
Is it challenging?
I'm gonna say easy because they are quite far away from you at this point.
Boom.
It's only fun if somebody fails.
I like the sound effect for the nat one. That's so funny.
Yeah, Berard, you are able to find a different spot a little bit more to the side, in which it's not too hard for Tehetakai to just shift to the side a little and still be more or less in the same direction as you are. And all of you kind of like scuttle to the side. Eagle grabs the rowboat on his back and start making his way to the place. And the group doesn't seem to notice you. You see one of the group as it kind of like collides with this like little raft collides with the scarp, and one of them pounds his chest and screams something. And you see one of them who's holding a torch up high point up towards what you see is the two kind of like huddled figures of Tehetakai and Bees in the Bowl.
Must keep climbing.
Berard gets out his sling.
And you see Ingvar gets a little closer, kind of like struggling to understand what he's saying. and he opens his eyes and he says, "Ah, damn it. Kid is young. It's the test of endurance. They're gonna see how far up there he can climb to see if he's truly a man."
Well, that's kind of
All
dumb.
right.
And
Oh,
they
Well,
what
said,
does-
he's welcome to join us.
and he kind of twists his head as he's hearing, and apparently knocking the two little ones climbing gives bonus point.
Rude.
Oh, well. Berard will heft a stone and place it in his sling. I don't think they've noticed us.
And he agrees. He kind of like shakes his head.
We've got the shadow here. The sun's going down. Be hard to figure out where a rock came from. And Berard's gonna glance at the wall and judge how high he can sling a rock with his sling.
What's the range on this link?
60 yards.
They are about 80 yards from you. They're a sizable difference. You guys were fast enough that you climbed kind of like out from the side. And so he's about 80 yards. So I'm going to say you can either shoot with a harder roll, just because this is not combat, this is just like a test of skill. Or you can try getting a little closer, maintaining stealth, and then shoot with no disadvantage.
Would you say that my nat 1 on stealth would get me closer without having to retest stealth?
You did get
Or is that
one.
just I got the whole group out?
That was more of a you got the whole group out. But I'll say the test for stealth is going to be a little easier if you decide to get a little closer to stealth.
I'll get a little closer.
I'm gonna say make an average stealth check.
Alright, and we are still inside Skagit, so this doesn't count as rural.
This doesn't count as roll.
Oh, that's my stealth sound.
Oh, it's stealth sound effect. It's like, why? Why does the wind keep blowing?
The wind's wild. The individuals that are gathered there, they don't seem to notice your as you come in. And by the way, at this point, it is night. It's starting to get really, really dark.
Do I need?
I'm gonna wait till he's a
When's the
fair
next
way up after the Hetakai before hitting him.
Is it time for the next climb check for me and the halfling?
I'm gonna say yeah. Let's do the next climb check.
Okay, so the last
This
one
time's
was
gonna be average.
okay. Oh, good, he succeeded.
Sorry.
Now I just have to not fuck this up. Oh, okay.
You did it.
So far, so good. I don't like that I'm getting really good rolls when I have the bonuses. Because I just know I'm gonna roll terrible when I have no bonus.
You keep climbing, and you're starting to get to a point where less people have failed because less people have arrived here. I'm gonna say like you have reached a good distance. That looking down, the city starts to get way smaller, and you start seeing people as little, almost like little ants beneath you.
The only thing Tehetekai says to the to Peas is that, like, as they're climbing, he'll just occasionally say, like, "Stop, climb, stop." Those are the only two words he uses.
Pease gets the hang of it just fine, and he seems to be excited you're talking. So he's like, he's trying to pry you for more words. As you're climbing upwards.
Over my dead, cold-blooded body.
For the guy for the base here, you see as the guy kind of like jumps into the rock, full body collides with the rock, and then he starts making his way there. You've seen Tehetakai climb a couple times before, both in rock now and in like trees, and I think Berard has a little bit of respect for how skillful he is at that. Especially after seeing this guy full body plank into the stone, and then starts just no care for his own safety of like just fully scraping at the rock so he can climb. But he's climbing bizarrely fast. So as he's climbing, want to take a shot?
Yeah, Berard would like to make a called shot to the limb that's supporting all of most of his weight as he's climbing up after he gets to about 20 meters in the air.
Gotcha.
Or up the slope.
Kind of like hitting the hand that is gripping while the other's finding a perch, right?
Yes.
Okay, make a called shot.
Alright, so what would the test be normally without the called shot?
The test for this, because you were closer, I would say it was going to be challenging.
Alright, so this will be a hard test.
It's gonna be hard.
I'm gonna use a fortune point to reroll. Hey.
There it is.
Hey,
Hey.
you shake off all of the 70s. You pull the sling, and luckily for you, as you're probably not gonna get too many shots at this, the side of the sling kind of slips, so you firm your hand and pull it back again. And as you release it, there's this like, and you can hear, but the others can't because of the distance, but you can hear this like whistling as the rock kind of like just because of the speed does a bit of a whistle and hits him on the arm. I'm going to do an athletics check. The athletics check is going to be if he continues holding or if he falls. Yeah, he falls.
Rip.
Doesn't go very far. He you pout his hand and he collapses. And as he collapses, you can see some people. He's make some weight. He made some weight there, so it's a couple of minutes. And you see as he starts falling, he starts screaming, and his buddies start laughing until he gets really close and they realize he's gonna hit the raft and fully crashes on the middle of the raft, splinters the wood, and kind of shakes, and all of them kind of like trying to find equilibrium. Some of them fall in the water, and you disrupt.
Thank you, Toll. That was a good shot. And Berard's going to go back to the rest of them, and Tehetakai better be able to get up to the top before they get to him again. Because...
As you're walking...
well, I do have to come back down.
Yeah. As you're walking, Tehetakai, climb rope. This is going to be challenging.
Oh, no.
Oh boy.
Good job, Halfling. Carry the team. Don't fail.
You, as you're going, you kind of like go, stop, and the piece is getting the hang of it, and he's starting to sing alongside it. Very annoying. And eventually you feel your hand like touch a side of the rock as you're talking to him. It kind of distracts you for just this millisecond, and you feel the piece of rock you're grabbed on fully collapse and crumble. I am going to say You can reroll this with corruption.
You can reroll this with
The fall
corruption.
from here is dangerous. Not an
Yeah,
insta-kill.
yeah.
And you can still grab on the rock. But look,
I will
you know,
I will accept my first corruption point.
No.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
you
My mind warps from fear of heights.
so give me the reroll then. I think if you just right click and say take a dark deal, it auto rerolls for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it adds the corruption for you. Getting corrupted is very easy.
Oh my god, it wasn't even worth it.
Nope.
Why?
You feel the urge
Wasn't
to like
as bad, I
grab
guess.
onto the rock again, and you kind of get tangled on yourself, and you hear a little laughter of something in your mind. You don't know if it's someone from down there or something else, but you hear some laughter as you try grabbing onto the place again. So what's gonna happen is this: the halfling is going to attempt to grapple you. As he's trying to, you are tied to him. If you fall, he falls. So he's gonna try grabbing you while keeping his hand on the.
My secret plan. I'll make the halfling save me.
So, I am going to say that's gonna be. I am checking to see his numbers for this because I think it is melee brawl, right? Melee brawl. Okay. That's not very good. He is going to be rolling against a 30. It's going to be a challenging roll.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fall to my death.
I mean, we all know he doesn't have fast hands now, which means he can't steal our stuff.
Oh,
without us
that was
noticing,
that was
so-
almost a pass. Oh, jeez.
As you're falling, he tries grabbing you, but also like slips in full body. He's able to like grab you, but he misses the like gripping point he had on the rock and slips, and both of you start tumbling down.
Can I like make an athletics to try and catch myself at some point?
Yeah, you can. I'm just going to describe something real quick, and then we'll come back to that.
Great.
Berard, as you're making your way back, you notice the position where you are, by the way, it's almost like here. The map is more exemplification, is more of an exemplification than like real rates. But like to your left, you see the scarp, and to your right, you see this very tall house that is built on, also seems to be like a pile of rubble and old houses. And there's this like looming shadow over you that even overshadows the moon itself. Not only from the scarp, but also from this high house. And on the base of it, you see a person. There's not a lot of people here. This is kind of like just barren mud and land. There's bodies of people who died, like falling from the scarp in different stages of decomposition. But huddled on the base of the high house, you see this like figure that has a bunch of what seem to be like rags around him, clutching his own knees, and he's whispering to himself. And it kind of like reaches your ear. You don't understand what it is, but you can hear this low whispering on the base of your ears and kind of like this edge of your perception.
Oh. So he's up on the... Well, it's not a fancy building, but the escarpment that the other the building's on, just like huddled and whispering.
He's on the base of it, so he hasn't climbed the high house. He's on the base. So he's on the same level as you.
Alright, can I make an intuition check to try to figure out what this guy's doing? Because he doesn't look like the people who had the sacks that were going in and out.
No. Roll me in the intuition, I'll tell you more. Make it average. Do you have
Average
night vision?
intuition. I do not.
Okay, we'll keep it up. Okay. You kind of like start clocking his vibe as you're looking, and there's something. He doesn't have the same vibe as the other. He doesn't have like a large sack or anything like that. He is just kind of weird. And he has a familiarity about it. You can't really clock what it is, but from this distance at least. But you can tell he's not a local. Because he's not peddling for food, he doesn't have the same scarrings or anything. He just seems like a guy that is trying to hide and is grasping at the base of this place. I think from this distance, there would be the amount you can clock.
Berard's gonna try to get closer to see if he's speaking Reichsspiel or if he's speaking something else.
Okay. From Aisling and Egon, what are the two of you doing as all of this has happened?
Well, I'm looking for like I'm looking to either build a shelter for the night because I feel like this is gonna drag on for a while, or
Drag on these nuts.
Got
him!
Wow.
Oh, great.
We could go back to discussing your fall if you wish.
Just let me fall. Just let
just let me die.
Just end it all.
Just put me out of my misery now.
That guy suddenly gives up on life as an outer worldly reason.
You know what? We deserve to die here in Skagit.
That would be
very
sad.
I will actually help Aisling. I'm gonna specifically be on the lookout for like some sort of like fabric thing to act as shelter. Although I doubt I'll find it like washed up in the mud.
Ingvar has a piece of tarp with him.
Oh, perfect. We'll use that.
He gives it no problem.
Oh, that's a handy guy.
And you both of you do notice that Ingvar and Igolf, they were kind of keeping to themselves. This is not their stuff. They're just kind of following along with you. As they're working with them, they seem to be very quiet. And I would want both of you to roll intuition. It's going to be challenging intuition.
Oh, me? Oh, and hey, that's a crit.
Anyway, Aisling, if you could.
What do I need to roll?
Intuition. Challenging intuition.
Alright, check this. I'm gonna get this immediately. And it's gonna blow your socks off. Heck yeah.
I like how you always gaslight your rolls.
I do.
Egon, You you have a good talk as you're working. Ingvar is kind of like working alongside you. He and Egolf are doing the job of like helping you set up this little tent and being aware of the surroundings. This is a little bit of a quieter part of Skagit, but who knows if that's better or worse. But Egon, a thought, like a piece, like an idea comes into your head.
You know, one of those headache with pictures.
Yeah, leave me alone. No, nothing as dramatic, but you remember something. It's more of a memory, from your time in Middenheim. You remember the fight against Beastmen. A lot of soldiers, especially young soldiers, that were drafted or volunteered to hunt beastmen and to get into the woods and really go after. There was this like massive campaign by the city of Middenheim to try and get rid of the beastmen once and for all. That's what they said, at least. But a part of it you remember.
Load of horse hockey, that.
It was, but a lot of people believed it, and a lot of people believed in the money. But the problem was that when they got inside the jungle, when they got inside the forest, and it started to get really, really, really dangerous, they stopped caring about the money as much. On Ingvar and in Igolf, you see in their eyes a calculation of how much is it worth to stay here with. Because as you arrive in Skagit, jungle was bad enough, but Skagit is a different kind of madness. You don't feel well, it's difficult to breathe, it's kind of this pressure of this urban environment that is alien to you, even though you've been in like big cities most of your life. And you start seeing them making the calculations and thinking like, do I want to die with these? What are my chances if I just run? And Lustria, the jungle of Lustria is scary enough and it is confusing enough that without a guide, there's not much chance. And you arrived here very easily because of the Hetakai. The Hetakai helped a lot. And you start seeing as they make the calculations of like, is it worth to stay here because we're gonna get in a lot of trouble. The situation kind of like starts getting into their heads, and you clock the eye of a deserter on them.
Are they just like eyes twitching forth, looking for the opportune moment?
They don't seem to be doing like they don't seem to be like ready to run, but they are starting to get to the conclusion that like if they stay here for long enough, they'll go mad. So
gears are turning.
Yeah, gears are turning. They're making like, should I run? Do I have enough food? How do I leave? And like, but like struggling with it because they came with you, and the jungle is very dangerous.
All right, I approach both of them. Sort of outside of talking range, either Berard or Ashley, if it's possible. I don't know. This area feels very small, but I'm gonna be doing the whispers.
Gotcha.
Trying to not worry those two over much, and Teka has a problem. So no need for that. But just realized my I just realized my microphone was turned away from me. I was probably coming in
Oh.
very low.
It was. I mean, it was. You were audible.
Okay, now it's better now, right?
Mhm.
Yes, much
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
Significantly.
Perfect. Okay, I looked at my mic. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. Cat, damn you! Yeah, Cat likes to play with the microphone cord. All right, so I lean up to Egolf and Ingvar and I say, all right, fellas, I get what's going on through your mind. You're trying to assess, well, you're trying to evaluate your situation and trying to see if you can get a better deal out of it. Well, tell you what, you probably won't survive long here. I get that. But think about it like this. You either end up like one of those beggars that we saw pummeled back there, or the jungle will eat you. Those are your options. Up there, and I point up to the scarp where Tatakai is. I can I actually see him?
You see him in free fall.
Oh, well, I try not to like I try to be super I try to
I'm
be
gonna go
super
ahead.
nonchalant about it
I'm gonna
as
go ahead and
example.
roll.
Yeah. Yeah, you should probably roll now to try and hey.
You could end up like the Hezekiah.
Let me do.
It would have
Egon,
been.
you
It
might.
would have been. It would have been.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Do you have your phone like really close to your mic or something like that?
No, I have. My phone is like as far
There's
away
like a
from me
little bit of
as
a
possible.
weird buzzing sound. You might like unplug it and replug it in real quick.
Hold on.
All right, both of you succeed. I'll get back to you, Tatakai.
Great,
I know
we're no
I
longer
left
falling
you.
to our deaths. Awesome.
Yeah, you're no longer, but I'll describe it. I'm just trying to juggle everyone's scene here.
How's this?
That's better.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, I replugged it in, so yeah, it seems to be working. All right, so it would have been very, very comedic if I'd pointed up and I said, "That's your meal ticket home." Splat.
Yeah. You see that both of them, they don't follow your look, so they don't see the head guy in free fall for the couple seconds.
Oh, thank goodness.
But they look towards you, and you see Eagle seems to be very kind of like puts his head down and kind of like scratches the back of his neck, and he fakes like tying something on his backpack or something like that. And Ingvar comes up to you and says, "Look, I don't want to. This is the peaceful side of the city.
Yeah.
Can you truly blame me for weighing all my options?"
Nope, but I'm just outlining them and, well, informing you of best options.
And you see that they look at each other, and there's almost like a silent conversation between them. I want you, Egon. I think it may be the first time that I asked for this specific skill roll. I don't remember. I'm gonna need you to roll leadership for me.
Leadership, eh?
You can add etiquette criminals if you want to,
Sweet.
because they are very much outside the law mostly.
Fair. I mean, one of them is literally, well, one of them is unofficially my henchman at this point.
Yeah, that's why I asked for a leadership, because you kind of like put this situation of like being his boss, and he's weighing the options as your
Hell yeah.
Igor kind of quickly, like quietly says, "I can't just leave them here." And Ingvar kind of rolls his eyes, says, "Man, okay. Sorry, I just keep it down low, okay?"
Do we have an understanding?
You have my word. And his.
Looks to the other one.
Eagle kind of nods to you.
Did you hear you say it?
I swear.
Good. Good. I hope we don't have to have this talk. Pats them both on separate shoulders and rejoins Ashley as she's trying to get us set up in a makeshift camp.
You see as you leave, they kind of exchange a glance at each other, but say nothing. And they quickly join all of you. Kind of like setting up this camp. Jessica.
Peril.
Tumble down for a couple of seconds, and then you kind of like extend your arm, and you're able to grasp. As you grip it, you pendulum into the wall and kind of hit it full force. I am going to say you're going to take 2 wounds.
Okay.
Which are not stopped by toughness or armor, which is just this like a desperate grasp and then hitting the wall very, very strongly. And the halfling also is able to kind of like grasp a place, and he looks towards you and says, that was close. Sorry I couldn't grab you."
Tetekai will kind of look down to make sure the halfling is good, and then just sort of he looks like back up and back down and just says, "Difficult."
He once again does just say something. He kind of like furrows his brow as he's trying to understand what is happening with you. But it's too dark, so he just kind of gulps and agrees. Says, "Difficult."
And then Tetekai will look back up and just say, "Climb."
So we're going back to climbing. So,
Oh boy.
aren't you happy? Isn't this game fun?
I don't understand this halfling and his bullshit suicide mission. Oh, great.
This one?
Is this one challenging or average?
Challenging.
Oh, fuck. Nice.
That's not enough for like a free fall, but it keeps getting harder to go up as you are, and you don't make much progress.
We may be here a while. Y'all have fun down there.
Yeah, we're trying. Egon pulls out the deck of cards.
The as the halfling's climbing behind you, it gets a little harder and harder to really kind of like find purchase, and the sky doesn't really help with this, because a lot of the house that I mentioned is still like in front of you. Give me what just
Wait.
Why am I hearing sound effects?
Dave?
What?
Is that coming from you?
It shouldn't.
I heard some weird sound effects. It was scary.
No, I know what it was. That was Darkest Dungeon.
That's not me. I'm not playing Darkest Dungeon.
No, it was the soundtrack.
It's
Oh.
I was like, it's not coming from Discord. Well, no, it is coming from Discord, but not from like a person. That took me a second to figure out.
Yeah, okay.
That was the That was
I thought somebody was like playing some Darkest Dungeon in the background. Like, I know those sounds.
To be fair, that is the first time that I have heard this sound, which
Yeah,
is 3
that
hours
track.
long.
Yeah, that track's been going for a long time. It's the first time there's been any sound effects.
I was like, Jesus, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, give me another challenging climb.
Please, old ones, be with me, Quetzal. Quetzal, give me strength.
I almost rolled.
Oh god, the exact same roll.
That's
ignore that.
1 in 10,000.
Yeah, it should be a -2. I forgot to remove my arboreal.
I mean, there's a forest around us. Oh god, this is
so hard.
As you're climbing, it gets harder and harder, and you're starting to get really, really tired, and I think a little irritated too, because there's this annoyance of trying to climb, and either like piece of rock crumbles, or it's just slippery, or like one of the grips you find like a snake on it, and you kind of like just have to take the hand back real quick. It's this very, very tiring climb. Not to mention, at this point, you start noticing that the climb itself is not the only thing here. As you're looking upwards into the kind of like the platform of the scarp, you start seeing figures breaking the light of the moon. And as you look up, you see some very familiar silhouettes.
I know this might be a strange question, but which moon?
In this case, it is the white moon.
Manslip.
Manslip. Morslip has not shown its faces. For now. But yeah, from the kind of like white light of the moon, you see these like signs of flying creatures above you, and you start seeing some familiar figures as you start seeing creatures that are Ripperdactyl adjacent. They are smaller versions of creatures like Ripperdactyls or pterodons. And you start seeing that they nest up there. And some of them are starting to get a little too close to you as they start hovering on the same level.
Oh, you thought the climbing was hard now? Nah, bruh.
I have so much
I'm
regret.
gonna say to Hezekiah.
I'm tempted to I just want to push this halfling off.
You can do that if you want to.
No, I'm not. I'm getting close to that point, but I'm not quite reached murder yet.
Give me another challenging climb. Man, now the 70s are starting to appear. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'll consider -1 is enough to keep going. Because we're gonna be rolling the same numbers over and over.
I'm leading. It's more important if I succeed.
Yeah. You start kind of like dragging the halfling. This is the first time this is starting to happen, where you move too fast for the halfling to catch up, as he's also starting to like lose a little bit of air.
Handling. That's mean.
As he's starting to be very out of breath and starting to get tired more and more.
How close are we to where he wants to be?
You are 1 roll away.
Oh Jesus!
This is going to be a difficult roll.
Oh Jesus!
Oh,
as
why?
This is going to be a jump. The piece of stone you are climbing has a fissure on it that has kind of like opened a giant hole in the middle of the rock itself, and from the place you are from, as you kind of look around, the only way to go up is jumping from one side of this like large missing piece to the other.
Since I'm leaping from one side to the other, can I use my athletics instead?
You're a sneaky little lizard.
I mean, he's got you there.
Well, it makes it go from a less than 1/3 chance to more than 50% chance, so...
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Come on.
Please don't fail.
It's gonna be difficult.
Yeah!
Hey!
I made it!
Look at that.
Oh my god.
You jump in a very agile way. The thing that is a little harder is you have to coordinate with the halfling. So because the both of you need to jump at the same time, otherwise the rope is going to be like tighten up, and you're gonna fall or he's gonna fall. So as you jump, you kind of like clock with him. He's a little late, but enough that that doesn't matter. And you reach the other side, and he kind of like puffs. His breath is really, really heavy. You mentioned being difficult. Yeah. Very difficult. This better be worth it. And you continue climbing until you reach a.
This was his idea.
Until you reach the kind of like a little bit of a more stable part of the rock. Seems like a piece of it fell a long time ago and just left this more stable ground. As you keep climbing, it's not a place it's not at the top of the scarp. To climb the top, there would be another section. But as you reach this little plateau, you see as Peas kind of tugs on the rope to you, and raises a hand, says, "Oh, this is good enough." And
that guy will bob his head and say, "Good."
He kind of looks to you and says, "I'm sure you understand. Do you mind if I get a little privacy?"
Tedekai does not understand, but he will undo the rope around himself, and he will retreat further back.
He kind of like takes a couple steps away. You hear a sound that you have grown to get familiar with, which is he's pissing. And give me a perception check.
Is it challenging or average?
I'm gonna say average.
Just failed.
You, after a while, like stops pissing, and he takes a little bit of a distance from you. You hear him speaking. You don't really understand what he's saying. He's quite far from you, and at this altitude, it starts to get very windy, especially right by the sea. But you see, he seems to be speaking with someone far away from.
That guy thinks this whole thing's weird anyway, so whatever, just another weird thing to toss on top of the pile.
From the people at the bottom, give me a challenging perception check.
All right. Boop. Nailed it.
Challenging perception. All right. So, here we go. Woo!
So, Aisling, as you're kind of like working and organizing and waiting for Tedekai to come back, you see in the air below the what you see are like birds that are flying upwards. You see something large flying away from the rock. And
That doesn't good.
Egon, you recognize a little bit of what's flying, but it doesn't really make that much sense in your mind. You see what seems to be a flying horse.
Would I know what a Pegasus is?
I'll leave it up to you, because I don't know how much people from Middenheim would be aware of how Pegasus look and stuff like that.
Well,
I'll
this
leave
is
it up
just
to
me.
your character.
This is me thinking out loud because Pegasi migrate from the Grey Mountains to the Middle Mountains. So,
Oh, you've probably almost assuredly seen
Fairly-
them, especially in a major city.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Then you do identify that it is a Pegasus.
Is that a? Yeah, that is. That's a Pegasus. What? Why is there a flying horse here? Do I see anyone on said flying horse?
You do see that there is someone on the back of the flying horse. Although from this distance and at night, against
Yeah.
the shining of the moon, there's no way you could see what it is.
I need
Who
to
is
double
there?
check if I have night vision or not. Nope, I do not have night vision. Never mind. I do not see. Is that who the halfling wanted to talk to?
There's...
After a while, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
After a while, the halfling comes back, and you see he's holding 2 feathers on his hands, and he points it to you and kind of like shakes them, says, "This is a gift," and he pockets them.
Like, he handed one to me, or he showed me 2 feathers and then put them in his own pockets?
He showed them to you and put them in his own pockets, because you don't really have a lot of pockets on
That's
you.
true. that is a
And
fair
so
counterpoint.
He kind of like shakes them for you and says like, "This is for you," and then kind of just pointing that he's putting in his pocket. And he's not saying a lot because his breathing is still very heavy. All right.
Tatakai is going to retie the rope around himself.
Both of you tie the ropes and you start climbing down.
Hooray! Down we go.
Yay!
So,
All downhill from here.
Speaking of downhill, give me a climb check.
Okay. What's the modifier?
I'm gonna say we can leave it at like 1 climb check, so make it average. Just so we don't have to keep rolling.
That goddamn 69. That's the 3rd time!
Nice.
Nice.
At one point,
I'm tired
you
of this
kind
position. I need variety.
Whoa!
At some point you kind of slide and take some kind of like hurts as you slide down, but you start your way down. Although it is very unpleasant, I'll say, just because we're expediting, because I don't want to keep rolling until you get down. Say 2 more wounds as you're not very successful in climbing alongside the halfling to get down.
Fair.
This is going to be like just the failure and the wounds of getting down from the hill.
Scrapes and scraps, yeah.
Exactly. Eventually, though, you get to the bottom and you see the halfling kind of nodding to you and saying, "Well, that was hellish. Good work."
All right.
Tatakai will be breathing heavily as he unties himself and kind of sags against the side of the scrap or the scarp.
All right, Master Tumbledown Stoutheart. We did our part of the deal. It's yours well, I'd like to see yours.
Alright. Just let me get you something before this. And he he holds his hands that are very bruised, and he grabs two large and long feathers, and he gives them to you.
Egon takes them, holds them up, and says, "What is this?"
Razorbeak feather. It's one of the creatures that lives up there. The locals, they respect strength a lot. So getting one of those usually gets you in good standing with people. And it's also a good thing to trade if you ever need something here.
Oh,
I'm
neat.
going to look towards Berard with a
Berard isn't there.
Oh right, wait. I thought he was sneaking around. That was right. Never mind.
Berard just still in the rolling one. He's still a shadow.
I thought he was. I thought he came back. Never mind.
You can come back if you want to. By the way,
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So was the guy speaking Reichspiel to himself?
Oh yeah. Sorry, we're in the middle of that.
Oh,
My apologies.
geez.
You get closer and you do hear him speaking in Reichspiel. He seems to be murmuring to himself.
Sprechen Sie Reichspiel? Berard will say from the shadows.
He whips his head and very quickly starts crawling your way.
Right, you don't need to crawl.
Are you real? Are you one of those? Let me touch your face.
No, don't.
And he starts
No
trying
face.
to grab you in any way he can. It's like, I need to know if you're real, because if you're not real again, and I throw my dishes into the sea again, I'm gonna go more crazy.
Berard tries to slap his hand away. I'm
Ow.
real. Or they're fake people here?
Good. Oh, a lot of them. If you stare into the shadows long enough, they start speaking back to you. It's horrible.
Berard looks at the shadows.
Not those. Those are rude. They don't speak to you. But those, they do. Anyway, that's not important. Are you here with someone?
I was gonna ask, are you going up and he points up the scarp.
He looks to the scarp and says, No. No. Horrible thing. No, not at all. I was trying to climb this, and he points to the big house that is to his back.
That seems like a dumb idea. Good luck. Berard's gonna take a few steps back.
No. Don't go. Please, just. I can make it work for a while. I need help.
What
I need
kind of help?
I need a place to sleep. I need just some place to sleep and food, and I need to climb this.
Okay,
I need to
that's
have
a
an
lot
audience
of
with.
help.
I need to make an audience with the king. You don't need to help me going up. Not right now, but I think I'm sick and I'm going crazy out here. I just need someplace safe where I know that no one's going to rob my rags.
They'd want your rags?
You want everything from me.
Oh, who are you?
I'm a wizard. I'm a grey wizard. Silliman, the name. Yes, Silliman. Oh, Silliman. Silliman, yeah, yes.
Do you want to intuition that?
Yeah, Berard wants... He seems a little unstable to be anything but another beggar.
Yeah, give me an intuition check. Make it challenging. Cool.
Oh, he's so a wizard. What, you mean like, what's his face, Kulik? I heard he's a wizard.
Sure. He doesn't seem to recognize the name. He just says, "Sure, yes, just like
Are
that."
you hiding from the Arch Commodore?
No, not that. No. No, I have my, and he starts patting his rags as if he had pockets. And I have my license. I had they ate my license.
What? Who ate your license?
Well, I'm not a witch. I'm a wizard. I came here. I came here a long time ago. I wanted to have an audience with the king, but this fucking, and he points towards the high house, and he says,
Lord Jakars.
"No, not even the Jakars. It's the king doesn't like talking to people, so the way up into the house is full of traps. There are like snakes and knives and boulders and all kinds of insane things."
What, really?
It's a test. And I failed. I failed so much time. But I know that if I have a good night's sleep, if I just something warm to eat and drink. I haven't eaten something in so much time. And see, he kind of like
What?
he kind of like grabs his hair and like puffs of hair like go along his mouth, along his hands, as like he's losing hair.
What? So if you get in and get an audience with the king, what happens? He chucks you out and someone bashes your face in.
No. See, they only have witches. They don't have truly trained individuals. They don't have truly trained wizards, right? They don't have that. They have farces and they have idiots and fools. They call me a fool for coming here. I'm not a fool. You know I'm not a fool, right? You believe me.
Well, don't think I've ever heard anyone call a licensed wizard a fool.
Exactly.
And
you
he mentally adds, in their presence.
Exactly. You get it. They don't get it, and he points to like the shadows. He goes, they don't get it, but I get it. The king has only seen charlatans, right? And people who do like weird stuff. So I have actual skills. I can cast magic. I trained so hard and for so long. But
what kind of magic you do? Is it the kind of magic where there's like sparkly lights and bullshit?
He stops for a second as he's kind of thinking to himself and says, "No, it's more. It's more discreet. I'm more of a." And he keeps himself.
Discreet. That sounds like a Manfred word. You one of them sneaky blighters.
Yeah, I'm sneaky. That's the good part. Every king needs a sneaky person for himself, and if that person is sneaky and magical, it's perfect.
You know what would be a great idea for a mighty sneaky wizard? If you did something super sneaky before you showed up to say, you know that thing that happened? I did that because I'm super sneaky. And I have just the idea of what you could do. That would be a real proof.
What? What is
Well, there's some big shot that one of the gangs has hidden over near, and he'll gesture towards the sandbar where the point is, the Kedjaness. I heard there's some big shot. This is Berard. This is Berard speaking. I'm allowed to mess up more than just Saurian.
Alright.
I hear there's some big shots there, and if you could like, sneak them out with your sneaky magic stuff, and they disappear, you could be the one to go like, you know how they were locked up all tight and no one could think they could escape? Imagine if you had me as your wizard, and then I could be doing stuff like that for you.
Berard's gonna release a lexicon that just is gonna cause mass confusion.
the unsold slaves. No, she'll get angry with me.
Will she?
Or,
What if you'll wait till someone's paid for them but hasn't picked them up yet, and then you get rid of them, and then she? I thought you said king.
Aye, yeah, the king. It's a woman. She's the king. I don't know either. That's the translation, at least. In Norse, they call it something else. I don't know. I don't speak Norse.
Or, well, here's the thing. I have someone who's been really aching to help someone, and we keep telling her no. So I think she'll be happy to help you for a night, and then maybe you can help us with something.
That would be lovely, because I think I'm very nearly passing out. Oh no, not nearly. And he falls to the ground, face down into mud.
Alright, Berard picks him up and walks back to camp.
A basket case. Aisling will be pleased.
You drag him back, and we'll say that happens. You know, I kind of forgot about Berard for a second, but that's fine. That kind of happens at the same time, and you're all back at the campfire. Berard comes dragging this corpse of this crazy old man.
So yeah, as I'm looking at that feather thingy, I look over towards Berard and I just see drag.
I'm just imagining he's over Berard's shoulder, but Berard is so short that he still drags in the mud.
Yeah.
Berard?
Aisling, I found a lost licensed wizard who wants care, and I know you've been really upset about not helping anyone, so I brought him to you so you can do your thing. Praise Shalia.
That guy's gonna look over and say, "Shook."
Oh, Berard will shake him to see if he wakes up.
What is this? No, I don't have food. Oh, so many people. Are all of you real? I think I'm passed out again. And he again falls down into mud.
I've took him to Hetekoi, but I don't think it's gonna keep him up.
Alright, fine. Bring, Aisling, you have your bedroll?
I do?
Alright. Put him down there.
Alright. Berard plops him on the bedroll and gives Aisling a smile. See, here's someone you can help, and nothing bad will happen because of it.
Okay, what does he need?
He hasn't eaten in a long time, and he's seeing people in shadows.
That sounds
Hetekai looks at shadows.
What if there are people in the shadows?
You have second sight, don't you, Hetekai?
I do!
Make a perception check.
There we go. What's the modifier?
I was gonna say challenging. And Aisling, if you want to check him up, you can also roll heal with a perception check.
+2.
You're a challenging heal check to kind of like check him up and see how he is.
Nice.
Hetekai, as you look towards him, he does have the boundings of he does have something about him, a little bit of an aura, and it's hard to describe, but it's like a smell of something that is about to get rotten. It starts to smell a little sweeter, and it's a bad kind of sweet. And you hear he seems to be full of the gray wind. And he seems to be kind of like the gray wind is around him. It's weak, but it's there. And you can smell this like very faint smell of rot as well.
Yeah,
not rot, but like something rotting.
Tetekai will kind of approach him and like walk around him before standing next to Berard and kind of pointing down at the man and say, use his magic.
Well, that's what he said, but he can't seem to get past traps because they're trying to get to the king, who's not a man. But they have traps to keep you from getting in.
Hey, he's wizard, yes.
Yeah, he got a license and everything, but he lost it. Or got taken from him. It was a little confusing.
He mumbles in his sleep. They ate it. They ate it. They ate everything.
Tetekai would say more, but his eyes are kind of focused on the halfling to be like, I shouldn't say anything else.
He like wakes up for a second and grabs Aisling by the arm and says, "They ate my hat," and then falls asleep again.
Right.
Aisling, as you're kind of looking him over, you notice that he is severely, he hasn't eaten in a while. And he has older wounds and recent wounds that seem to have never healed. Some of his fingers are broken, and they kind of like reformed in a bad shape.
Okay.
And you see that he has like a broken rib that never truly healed. So you see he has like a big shadowy purple on his ribs. You see he has a lot of like smaller cuts. Some of them do seem to be like infected or something like that. They have a little bit of pus on them. It's not like a great thing. He's not having a fever, but he might be coming from a fever. He might have been sick very recently and is getting a little better.
I have a thing. Get ready for thing. I gotta find it.
That's the thing.
Yeah, boy. I am gonna remove his critical wounds.
Very good. All right.
Holy crap, that was a good roll.
Could you
Right.
give me a
Oh, man.
description? Could you give me a description of how that looks? As
Okay,
this is the
so-
first time you perform a miracle.
She puts her hands together in a praying motion and then proceeds to bob up and down with her hands in a praying motion over her head, saying some language, and all you can understand is Shalia, 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 Shalia. And she just does that while dancing around him until he gets better.
And keep in mind, she does this for every character she does.
That's one way to manifest prayers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Shalia.
It works. As you shalia away, you do. By the way, repeating shalia sounds like I'm speaking Portuguese to me. It feels weird just to say shalia. You see as there is a. It is a little disgusting, by the way, for the non-magical folks here, as his body convulses as one of his bones like miraculously unbreaks.
Ah!
And it kind of like convulses. It's kind of like the kind of like this possessed twisting of limbs as his torso jumps upward, but the head and the feet don't. Just kind of hovering, and you see his fingers breaking and unbreaking again, and he seems to be asleep for most of it. And
Wow, this miracle is horrific.
and until he falls down to the ground and by the way, as this is happening, this horrifying look, there's actually spinning on around him saying Shalia, 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 which is a juxtaposition you didn't think you would ever see. So but at the end of it, you do see his body kind of falls to the ground. How many critical wounds do you heal?
Just one.
This one?
Well,
Okay.
no,
I believe she can heal 2.
Yeah,
Take a
1
few-
for succeeding, and then 2 per for every success level. Every 2 plus success level, she can heal another critical wound. So yeah, she can heal 3 critical wounds if he has them.
Then yeah, I'll heal 3 of his.
Okay.
Good
So in the-
lord.
His body like breaks, and he feels a little. He has a little bit more of a pink skin and a bit healthier look. He's still bone, like he's still as thin as you can see all of the bones on him. But the bones seem to be correct at the moment, at least. And at the end of it, he kind of like falls. And after a couple of seconds of silence, he
Praise Solia.
Shalia!
Hi, praise Charlie. I think.
Dad is going to look genuinely a bit shocked. He has not seen
Praise-
something like this before.
Praise be.
I'm better. Was it all a nightmare?
Yes.
Would have been.
Thank God. I thought I drank my old piss for a whole week. This is better. Hey. Sorry. I'm really still hurts like this. I'm Silimon. My head. Are you? Who are you folk? Are you Imperials? Damn it.
Some of us, yes.
By the way, Peas in the Bowl, who is still there, is looking shocked at this display of miracle.
Shalia.
And he just kind of
Please
like
stop.
he just shakes his hands in the air and says, "Praise Shally, am I right?"
Oh yeah, Egon just remembered something. He's still holding those feathers, and he just realized that he wanted to ask Berard something. So he sidles up to him and says, "Hey Berard, what are these?" Holds up the 2 feathers. Holy crap!
Oh, those are pinion feathers. Really important.
Does he
Structure
say
of a
they're of
wing
the same? Does he say they are the same animal that Master Tumbledown Stoutheart said?
Probably not, because he's never heard of a razor beak. Other than Taitakai saying there's birds with teeth beaks. But he can definitely tell you the kind of wing it came from and what type of feather it is in structure.
So this didn't come from a Pegasus.
Or from a Pegasus?
Humor me.
Berard will take and look at it. 4 success levels on lore beasts. Does this look like a Pegasus wing?
As you don't know, it does. It looks like the wings of a large predatorial, kind of like a hawk or an eagle, something like that.
Oh, no, see, if you rub the sides of the feather, how they group up, this is definitely more designed not like the Pegasus feather that I saw in a book.
If I wanted a lecture, I'd go to the university.
Well, you can't get there without a few months' journey, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Oh, praise the gods. Alright, and he is going to put the feathers into his pouch. Because apparently they're valuable, and since could you refresh my memory? What did the halfling say about the value of those feathers? Like, I heard it very briefly.
They're good
and I may have
for
forgotten.
they're good for trading, and they're also like a status symbol to represent that we made it to the top or near the top of the scarp. So
Yep.
they
perfect.
have a proven grounds type symbolism, but they can also be traded apparently for high value.
Cool.
He
Got
he
it.
explains to you that getting a live bird or a bird's nest from the top of the scarp is more valuable, but being able to catch one of the feathers, who usually only group up there, is also very good. If you have a live bird, you can even request a meeting with the king here.
Oh, snap.
The
He
feather
will-
probably wouldn't get you this far, but it can get you a lot of things. It's valuable.
Cool. Got it. Now he's going to go back to being utterly freaked out by what just by the reverse exorcism that took place.
You see,
Can you type out the wizard's name? Because I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like Solomon, but
It writes very, very similarly to Suleiman. It is very close.
That is certainly quite close. Silamon.
I just wrote silly man.
Close.
To be fair, he's kind of like catching his breath still. He says, "Do you have food? Do you have a place to sleep? I feel a little better, but God, my stomach hurts. God, the gods know how much I haven't eaten. Who are you folk? Can I get your names or something?"
Name's Manfred.
I'm Berard.
Danica will just go, Kai.
That's Twin Tail.
Kai, okay.
Elbows
Yeah.
Ashling.
Single syllable, just like the warm bloods. Perfect disguise.
I am Ashling. I am a priestess of Shalia.
Remind me to make a big offering when I'm back.
Of course.
Thank you.
I think I got a scrap of the boar we were having left around here somewhere.
I would. You have done a lot for me, but if I could bother you for some more, I really need to eat. Like, I could eat a whole cow right now.
I don't suggest that.
Hey, P, where would we get a whole cow? And don't say where we would. Just where's a good place? Where can we get some food around here?
He in a bowl kind of like shakes his head from side to side and says, "Oh, honestly, it's not that big of a thing, but the Eureka is very good. If you can handle a stallion's vo. It's mostly a stallion food though, altered here, but."
Oh,
I
I remember us being mentioned that place, but they said you should probably speak a stallion.
I dabble. he gives a smile. Says, I can speak the stallion a little, not fluent, but I have dabbled with stallions and tillions before. I know how to speak to them.
All right. Into the boat we go. We break camp, and we're gonna head for the. What was it called? The Eureka.
The Eureka.
All right.
So you make your way carrying the rowboat. Right now it's very dark, and you're followed by Silliman that keeps close to Aisling, and he seems to be mostly complaining about like pain and hunger, and he a little bit shaky, a little bit weak still. You arrive at the sea, and you pass through the beach, and you reach the little
Tatakai
area.
will offer Silliman as we're walking. Tatakai will wordlessly take out some of his the rations the humans gave him and offer that.
They're probably a little stale right now. He devours them. He chucks them inside his mouth as quickly as he can. And as they end, he's still a little. He looks at it disappointed. And I was like, that wasn't enough. But he gives you a nod and says, "Thank you, little cloaked figure." Kai.
Oh,
right?
this is my son.
Your son is named Kai.
Tatakai
Yes.
bobs head.
Oh, you have a. That's good to know.
He's adopted.
Yeah, he gives you like the slightest pat on the top of the head and keeps walking. As you arrive in the stockade is an entire town district. Only it's arranged vertically, barely 40 meters at its widest point. So it's very much something that was some kind of like janky town that was built on top of the sea, that was built upwards. And about halfway there, right dead set in the middle of the stockade, you find the Eureka.
As we're walking through,
Of course.
can I attempt to spot any secret signs, i.e. the thief secret signs?
Yeah, of course.
Alright. I'm
gonna say challenging because they are
There's a
foreign
pro-
to you.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of like different language secret signs. No, really not.
You see some things that seem to be signs, but like you don't really. I would say you're not able to identify what they mean. What you do see as you're walking around is that there's a lot of small statues around the King's Hill, which is where you are. As you're walking. I need to answer the door real quick. Just sorry.
No worries.
I love that Berard is going to think he's definitely a wizard because he got to Hetakai to give him a short name that can be understood.
Sorry.
And he's been trying to do this for so long.
It's all part of the disguise, man.
Sorry, my dumbass forgot to not lock the door, so my wife is stuck there.
Oh.
As you're walking, you do get past a district which seems to be a little bit more organized. You see a lot of small shops that are closed right now, but you see the familiar signs of pickaxes and shovels and ropes. And Peonable explains that you're passing through the Explorer District. And he says that this is where most of the money of the treasure hunters stays. This is where they buy supplies to get into the jungle. So probably a good place if you decide to go back to the jungle again. They're gonna have a lot of supplies there. You also see a lot of details in the architecture, especially in the Explorer District. You see a lot of animals that seem to be carved into the wood and glued in different spots by this thick, what seems to be like almost like a sap. You see a lot of different animals, especially crows, and you see like heads of crows, snakes, wolves, and you see them of different making. And as you're looking around, you're not really able to identify what they mean, but they seem to be almost like lucky charms. You know how I don't know how the experience is for other people, but like here in Brazil, Japanese and like Chinese, Asian restaurants usually have near the entrance like some like big cat with his paw, kind of like waving
Yeah,
the
the
paw.
little guardian statues.
Yeah, kind of the little guardian statues. It has that same vibe. Like each shop seems to have a little token that is carved from wood right in front of it, and um, it feels kind of eerie right now because this is the Explorer District is a little empty during the night, so you feel a little looked as you pass through the heads.
So we finally arrived in the Explorers District, which I look forward to exploring next time, because we actually have to go.
All right.
Oh, snap.
I'm just gonna give a description of the Eureka, and then we wrap up.
Sure.
Hey.
As you climb the stockade and these like makeshift ladders and rests of things, you do see a more familiar sight for those of the Empire, which is drunk Tillians. You see a bunch of more festive and happier
so much singing.
Tillians and Estalians. These two don't really like each other that much, but here, as they're so far away from home, there's a camaraderie of drinking and singing and like tests of skills. And as you enter the Eureka, which is like a wide establishment, you hear music. You hear people with harps and what seem to be almost like guitars. I forgot the name for it. But you see people like instruments playing and music and singing and wine going around. You see a guy on the corner who is like he posing close to a wall, and he's being like there are people throwing daggers at him as like trying to get as close to him without hitting him. It's like drunkenly fun. And as you arrive here, the kind of like as you're getting closer, the mood is very festive, but it also very aggressive. It's come to the point in drinking where they stop really caring about people that much. And as you're entering, you hear a guy who like pulls up a glove and hits the other in the head with the glove. And he kind of like takes this slap and rises. And as he rises, the other guy rises again, and he's much bigger. Has like a nasty scar, and you see that the guy who rises again seems to be very angry and very tall. He seems to be more of a Kislevite. Has that like, scruffier look and a short beard. And as he rises, he says something in Estalian, and the other one slaps on the wall on the table and pulls the rapier as the other guy pulls a saber. And as this like string of blades begins, this chaos erupts through the Eureka. And as it's happening around you, Peas in a Bowl kind of like gets close to Egon and Aisling and says, "Welcome to Eureka, the safest place in town."
Feels like home already.
And this is where we're gonna end up.
Woo!
Woo, we did it!
Yay!
Great session, gang.
Yay!
We are
Yeah.
we're almost to the jailbreak that I'm sure will go super great with no problems.
Yeah, it'll go as well as that climb of yours.
Yeah. Hey, we got there in the end.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.